In Washington, D.C., the governor of Okinawa voiced his opposition over plans to relocate a U.S. military base on that Japanese island. Residents have protested the relocation, saying they want U.S. military operations removed completely, but the U.S. is not budging. Mike Viqueira reports.
Takeshi Onaga, governor of the Japanese prefecture of Okinawa, is a man struggling to be heard. Here, visiting the State Department, and later on Capitol Hill, sitting down with Senators John McCain and Jack Reed. His mission on a 6-day trip to Washington, to convince anyone who'll listen, a U.S. military facility on his island has to go. Futenma Marine Corps Air Station. Encircled by a city of 100,000, it's more than a nuisance to the people who live nearby. It's a danger. There have been accidents, including a helicopter crash, and crime, including rape, committed by American servicemen against Okinawans. Now, a long-stalled plan to move the Marines to another part of Okinawa is being met with protests. A small armada of kayaks and boats takes to sea daily at the new site, Heneko Bay, near Camp Schwab, another U.S. airfield. They say expanding the base there would damage a fragile ecosystem. Mostly, they want the Marines off Okinawa.
We now have a governor who is opposed to the land reclamation here, and he was voted in by a huge margin. The people are supporting us.
That governor is Onaga. He campaigned against the U.S. bases, and in November was elected in a landslide. More than half the 50,000 U.S. military personnel in Japan are stationed on Okinawa. But the island is tiny, just 0.5% of Japan's entire landmass, and Okinawans think that's not fair. Out of all Japan's prefectures, Okinawa's jobless rate is the highest, and average income is the lowest. But now, tourism is booming. And while the U.S. presence was once seen as an economic lifeline for Okinawa, it's now seen as a drag on growth. Most Okinawans say they'd be better off without it. But there is one big problem. The government in Tokyo wants the base to stay on Okinawa. And when Governor Onaga came to Washington to meet with officials and walk these halls in Congress, he didn't get very far. In April, President Obama welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to Washington. As regional tensions with neighboring China rise, both agreed the Marines should stay on Okinawa.
Our new guidelines complement our effort to realign U.S. forces across the region, including on Okinawa.
While in D.C., Onaga suffered another blunt setback. After his meeting at State, American officials released a statement, reading in part, "The governments of the United States and Japan share an unwavering commitment to the construction of Futenma Replacement Facility, the airfield at Camp Schwab." Do you consider this to be a rebuke, and are you disappointed?
What I felt from their facial expressions is I felt they understood the issue of Okinawa deeper.
Onaga says in spite of his struggle to be heard in Washington, he sees a silver lining. The voices of Okinawans are being heard around the world. Mike Viqueira, Al Jazeera, Washington.